Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Reddan, creator of the SRTT Self-Care Club. Thank you for joining us today. You can find me on most social media platforms as SRTT Self-Care. Facebook's where I'm most active, and you can join my free groups there. Today, I'm joined by Gayle from the Happy Ladies Lifestyle, who's sharing about her menopause journey. Thank you so much for coming and joining me, Gayle.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for inviting me.
So I am really interested to hear your story because I follow you on social media and for a little while now, and you did take a little break to kind of manage some of the stuff that was going on for you. But for those that don't know you, can you share who you are and what it is that you do, please?
Yes, of course. So I am a qualified life coach, business coach, NLP practitioner. At the end of last year, I was specifically business coaching, working with women who wanted to start a business or grow a new business. And I did that because that was my background. I'm 30 years from the age of 16 of setting up businesses and running successful businesses. So it made sense. That's what I would coach in. As you say, towards the end of last year, I had some personal stuff going on. And, we all do from time to time. It just, for me, was one of those times where it was one after the other, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. And I felt like I needed some time out. I wasn't happy and I wanted to heal myself. And I thought, you know what? I'm a coach. I'm an NLP practitioner. I have a love of the law of attraction, manifestation, anything more spiritual based. And I thought, I've got so much here that I can use on myself. I need to take this time out. And that's what I did. I disappeared. I went off social media. I went away and I worked on myself. And doing that, I realized my coaching needed to take a different path. When I came back, there was a different focus to it, which is where the Happy Ladies came from. But one of the things that was sitting in the background that had been there for a few years, creeping up on me, and one of the personal issues I had going on was the menopause. And, there are people in life, my mum would be one of them, who went through the menopause in her early 40s and says, do you know what? I never even noticed it. It just happened. I am not one of those people. I am not one of those people who has sailed through menopause. For me, it was something that was destroying me. It was affecting my work, my business. It was affecting my relationships with people. And it affected my everyday life. So coming here to talk to you today it's something I'm just so passionate about. And you have to stop me because I will just ramble and ramble and ramble.
No, do ramble. And I'm so grateful that you're here because I think it's so important, and it is a conversation that we need to have, because I am a woman who is 45 years old, and I don't know where I'm at in my menopause journey because I've got chronic health conditions as well that have similar symptoms. And I think it's something that maybe I don't feel like it is something that is talked about enough to prepare us and to support us going through. I feel like it very much is a topic that's sort of, it's joked about, there's stereotypes that we hear about, and then it's something that after everyone's gone through it, then maybe you'll get some kind of stories about what went on. But like I mean, I don't know. Where have you felt about it?
It is one of those things that people will just, laugh and joke about and talk about, and you do not realize until you're there. And the worst thing is, most of the time, you don't realize you're there.
Yeah.
And especially your perimenopause part. So your bit before menopause. They say we're in menopause when you've not had any periods for 12 months, and then you're in the menopause. But you have this perimenopause beforehand, which is all the things that you probably put down to something else. It's not something you even think about speaking to your GP about, because you will always think, oh, it's just this or it's just that. When we talk about menopause, people know the obvious stuff like the hot flashes and the sweats. You associate that with menopause. The bits leading up to that, you don't realize. For me, it started off with my mood changed. I just wasn't happy. And I cried a lot. And my relationships with people were difficult. My husband would say something and I'd read something else into it. And, it became a little bit argumentative, and I was sad, to the point where I took myself off to the GP. We had a conversation that ended up as, you're clearly depressed. Let's put you on antidepressants.
Yeah.
So that's where that started for me. I went on antidepressants. I then became sort of zombie-like. Life wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was just manageable. And I really didn't like it. And I didn't stay on them for long because I thought, no, this isn't for me. And I just carried on. And then I had weird things happening. Like, I became anxious over silly things. And the weirdest one for me was I developed a fear of driving. If I got in the car, my anxiety would kick in. And that's not something you would put down to menopause.
No, it's something I've had, though, as a common thing for like older women, that they develop a fear of driving but don't really know where it came from. Could be really, really confident, and then suddenly getting in the car and even just going to the shop feels like a big thing, when previously they'd perhaps had jobs that had them travelling up and down the motorways.
Exactly. I'd driven from 17, lorries, vans, motorbikes, cars, you name it. And all of a sudden, I couldn't get in a car and go somewhere without shaking from head to toe. And, none of this to me was menopause related. It just sort of went on. And then there was one day, my perimenopause journey was slightly different because I'd had a hysterectomy earlier on in my 30s. So that sort of whole monthly thing was a little bit ski-whiff anyway. But I remember stood in the shower one day and thinking to myself, do you know what? I've not had the monthly stuff going on for a while. I would get the mood swings monthly, the sore boobs monthly, and it just suddenly dawned on me, I've not had any of this for a while. How long is a while? Oh, do you know what? I think it's more than 6 months. And all of a sudden I had this, I wonder if there's a menopause thing going on here. I went straight back to my GP and I said, could this be menopause? And the GP said, no, you're too young. It's not menopause. You're depressed. Let's put you on more antidepressants. And I said, no, not happening. I'm not doing that. I want you to do a blood test, because I didn't know any better at the time. Do a blood test. So she, okay, did a blood test, which came back as, no, you're not in the menopause. You're just depressed and anxious. And it sort of went on like that. And, the next thing that happened, which was one that really, really upset me, was I put on weight. And it started off with a little bit of weight and then a bit more weight. Now, I'm from a fitness professional background. I know my stuff when it comes to nutrition and health and exercise, and I know exactly what to do. If I put a little bit of weight on, I know what I have to do to get rid of it. And I couldn't do it. It didn't work. It didn't matter what I did. And, and then over, it was just crept on and crept on and crept on. Till all of a sudden I've got 3 stone of extra weight on me. And for someone like me who's very, very active, I wanted to be a bodybuilder at one point, and I was training extremely, and I thought, well, I need to do more of that, exercise harder, do more.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen. It just didn't happen at all. And at that point, I was literally crying every day.
I mean, I laugh because that's the what you get told, isn't it? If you're putting weight on, going calorie deficit, exercise more. And I know, because I've spoken to people like you, that is not the way when you're going through perimenopause and menopause. There's more to think about and more that needs to come in to that.
Definitely. I'd had all of this with the GP. I thought, I'm getting nowhere. I then spoke to a menopause nurse specialist who said to me, exercise more and eat less. At that point, I was eating about 600 calories a day and hardcore exercising.
How heartbreaking.
And it was just heartbreaking. Exactly. My husband, we've discussed it since, and he said the most heartbreaking thing is to watch the person you love and you can't help them.
Yeah.
And they're doing everything they can to try and help themselves, but there's nothing. I got nowhere with the GP. I got nowhere with the menopause nurse. I took on and started working with an amazing nutritionalist, absolutely fabulous lady. It didn't help me though. And then I spent the money. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that, to see a specialist, a very famous one. And you know what? Wonderful, wonderful woman. But believe it or not, she couldn't help me. She recommended HRT, which is absolutely fabulous for so many women. And it didn't help me. 11 months in, And I had been overdosed on estrogen. I had underdosed on estrogen. I was having my bloods done left, right, and centre. It just wouldn't stabilise. My weight was creeping up. I was one of those people who HRT didn't help. At that point in my life, I just thought, well, that's it. I've spoken to everyone you can possibly speak to, and they can't help me. This is it for me now.
Mm.
And I just thought, this is what so many women must go through if they can't find that cure. You know, that's it. You just live with it. And that's when I took the time out. And that's when I had to sit down with myself and I thought, you know, what do you know? What do you know that it can help you? And I thought, I've got all these thoughts in my head that this is going to be my life forever. I'm never going to be any different. This isn't going to change. No one can help me. And I thought, you know what, you know better than this.
Yeah.
Use your skills, turn this around, talk to yourself differently. And I had a photograph of myself pre-menopause in a really nice dress, and I put it as my screensaver on my phone. And my husband, bless him, was saying, do you know, your body's changed, you're older, maybe you won't get back to that. And I just said to him, no, if I want to, I can. There is no reason why I can't get back to this. And I put those thoughts in my head. Yes, I can be the weight I want to be. Yes, I can be happy if I want to be happy. Just because everyone's saying, try this and it hasn't worked, try that and it hasn't worked. I know I am capable of getting my body the way I want it to be, of living the life I want to live and being happy. And I started researching. I started looking at the connection between the food I was putting inside me and how it affected my thoughts. I started looking at exercise and found out, you know, stop the hardcore exercise. The menopausal body does not like that. I took up Pilates, which previous for me was like yoga and Pilates was a no, that's not hardcore enough for me. But all of a sudden my body sort of went, we like this.
Yeah.
We're going to react to this. And I stopped doing all the heavy weight training. I started going out walking instead. I got my steps in. I was getting my sort of, you know, my heart burning, my heart rate up through walking, going outside, feeling great being outside. That was my cardiovascular exercise. And then it was the Pilates, keeping my, because I had the achy bones, the achy joints, everything was sore. If I stood up, it felt like it took me a year to get up or sit back down. So I had to change my exercise to fit with the menopausal body.
But we don't get told this, well, we get told it by people like yourself,
no.
but like mainstream, it is just exercise more, do a run, drop the weight, eat as little calories as possible, like, you know, just starve your body of all the nutrients it actually needs, because you're not getting enough nutrients on a 600-800 calorie diet. The body isn't getting what it needs to keep itself where it needs to be.
Of course it's not, you know, and, you know, all those things, especially in your younger days, the things that do work, you know, just cut those calories and do more. No, the menopausal body does not like that at all. You know, and when I started looking at, you know, I got very much into biohacking and looking at cutting anything that's, you know, got the chemicals in it or the molds and toxins in foods. And I had to heal my gut as well. You know, we know that connection between the brain and what we eat. You know, when we get the emotional eating, I feel crap, I feel sad, I eat to feel better. But, you know, I learned about it works the other way as well. Do you know what? If I'm putting toxins and chemicals and rubbish into my gut, it's going to affect how I'm thinking. You know, so I started feeding my body in a different way and really noticing how I felt. I kept a diary of, you know, if I eat this, I feel this way. But if I eat this, I've got loads of energy and I feel great. You know, and it took a lot of figuring out. But, you know, what I learned was you can't say to any one woman, you should do X, Y, and Z. You can only say, this works for so-and-so, this works for her, this might work for you. But, you know, there is something. Doesn't matter if someone says HRT works for 90% of people. You might be like me and you're not in that 90% of people who it's going to work for. It doesn't mean that you have to go through this and that you have to put up with this. You know, for me, the three main things were I changed my food to make my brain function better and, you know, to heal my gut. the exercise, I stopped being massively extreme with the exercise and thinking I have to work harder because I'm getting bigger. It didn't. I had to take the foot off the pedal and give my body the exercise and, you know, the love that it needed. And then the other one, the biggest one, was my mindset and my thought process, that no, I'm not stuck with this. This isn't me forever. I need to think about this in a much more healthy way, a much more positive way. And do you know what? Those three things, I turned it around so quickly. And when I say quickly, I mean a few months. And having been told for 2 and 3 years, just do this, just do that, and getting nowhere, it was huge.
And what I'm hearing here is it's a really connecting in with yourself, actually not listening to other people telling what you can't do, but really connecting in with yourself and listening to what your body was needing from you at this stage of your life, and providing that in a way that was different to what you've done before and different to what you knew, but actually hearing what you needed and nourishing yourself in that way.
Exactly. And because menopause isn't spoken about enough, I mean, much more now, the likes of Davina McCall, you know, putting, you know, a program out, and, you know, it's being talked about more, but still not enough. People just don't know. Women don't know enough. And when certain things start to happen to you, you react in a way that, you know, we are taught to react in. You've put weight on, you should exercise more. You know, you just get taught all these things as you grow up, and they're ingrained that you behave in a certain way when certain things happen to you. Menopause can't be like that. There is nothing. No one can say to you, change how you eat, change your exercise, change how you think, you know, go on HRT, just do this, just do that. No one person, no specialist, no doctor, nobody can say to you that that's going to work. And that's exactly right. What you're saying is just take a little minute to start listening to you. You know, when you wake up in a minute of diving out of bed and worrying about everything, just take that time to just have a little think of how you're feeling right now. What do you need right now? When I wake up in the morning, wherever my head's at, I know I'm just going to have a little minute. I get out of bed and I do my Pilates straight away, you know, and then I lie there and I just breathe and relax. And I do like a full body scan. I just imagine a scan going through my body, and I feel, where's aching today? What do I need to think about today? Where am I at? And I've learned so much about myself in these last 6 months. And, you know, I honestly, truly believe that anyone going through this, there is something for you. And that's not to say it's what's, you know, what's worked for me. You might be one of those people who, you know, can go on HRT and it takes them symptoms and lets you live your life again the way you want to. But there are going to be so many people like me that none of this works for, who feel like, well, that's it. I'm just stuck like this, you know, and you're not. You're really not.
And I think even if like HRT is working for you, there is, I think, because it's one of the things I preach about all the time, I talk about all the time, and I know it's something you share in your communities as well. It's like connecting in with yourself and actually listening to what you need is so important. And as women, we often neglect that. And I think, like, as life goes on, because I believe our body communicates with us through our symptoms and talks to us about what we need, and will keep showing us what we need until we actually listen and give it what we need. So HRT is, like, for those who need it and use it, fantastic. I'm all for using medicines that support you in your wellness, but I really truly believe we also need to be checking in with ourselves and kind of looking at, you know, what do I actually need in my life, that I'm living it in a way that is fulfilling, and I'm living it in a way that fills me up, because we're just going to keep getting something or other occur, and I feel, until we do that. Exactly.
I mean, I'll give you one last example of something. And for me and my husband, for as long as we've known each other, Friday night is always Jack Daniels and takeout night. That's what we do. And you know what? When I started to sort of notice what was going on with me, I started to realize that after a Friday night, my mood was very low and I would become weepy again. I'm very uncomfortable. And, you know, I changed my diet, my lifestyle. But what I realized, and what I found out from speaking to other people as well, is when you go through the menopause, your tolerance for alcohol and things like that becomes completely different. You know, and it was just something I thought, you know what, I have to take notice of this. So I changed it. And on a Friday night now, I have my kombucha, my fizzy kombucha in a glass, in a wine glass that looks the same. To me, it feels the same environment. We're still having our Friday night. You know, I make my fake takeaways. My husband still has his Jack Daniels and his takeout. But for me, I enjoy the environment. I've still got that same vibe, but it doesn't affect my mood. It doesn't affect how I'm feeling. You know, before menopause, I could eat and drink what I wanted. Afterwards, you know, there's certain things that you know, the menopausal body does not like. So yeah, definitely, it's just looking at yourself and listening to what's going on and what your body, because your body will tell you. It will tell you
100%.
exactly
Yeah.
what you need. If you choose to ignore it, that's your choice. But you know, you're not going to get past all those symptoms and how you're feeling if you're not listening.
And I think for many of us women, though, it's we don't give ourselves space to listen because we're so busy looking after everybody else and doing everything else. It is, and I think of myself in this, that once we get to burnout and we go, oh, okay, I need to do things a little bit differently, that we then start to listen maybe a little bit more. So one of the reasons I very much want to speak to you, and one of the reasons I do the podcast, is because I want people to be able to go, oh, okay, maybe I don't need to reach burnout, maybe I don't need to go through all of this stuff before I start listening to myself. So like, I just, I feel like I need to harp on about that today. If you take nothing else from this, like, let's start connecting in with yourself, because that's what I hear with you talking. That's what I hear is the biggest thing that enabled you to get to know all of the stuff that you needed was noticing, listening to yourself and noticing your Friday night, how your body was reacting. I don't know if you want to add anything to that or what you kind of feel.
You know what, I honestly think that, you know, wherever you are in this journey, you know, pre-menopause, or you're thinking I speak to so many women who think I might be, but it could be such and such. Do you know what? Listen there, like you just said, listen at the early part and keep listening and keep adjusting and do what your body is telling you. 100%. I 100% believe that no matter where you are in this journey, you are still able to be happy. You are still able to function every day without it having the impact that it had on me. You know, I did, as you just said, I waited till that extreme where I can't cope anymore. I just can't, I can't function as a person. Everything's upsetting, everything's bothering me. The weight of the world is on my shoulders. I waited to there. And what I will say is, you know, all right, you've got GPs and specialists, but, you know, groups like yours, groups like mine, get in and listen and talk, because what you will get more from people who are going through things is so much more valuable, you know, and like us talking today on this podcast, you know, like you said, if someone can just listen and go, all right, okay, I know there's a little bit of that going on with me at the moment, I'll start to take a little bit of notice.
Yeah.
That is just amazing. Yeah.
It just makes a difference, doesn't it? Because it's great that we have a medical system that we can go and ask questions and we can access, because we need that. But there's only so much that they can do within the system that they have. And I think the more we can educate ourselves and the more we can kind of connect with other people and share experiences, it does help, because it's all that knowledge that you can then notice that, oh yeah, this is what's going on for me. And I wonder, sort of thinking about the medical stuff, in your journey, do you feel like there's a time you could have gone earlier? Is there anything that you would say to people that are kind of going through, like when they maybe could connect in with a GP?
You know, yeah, there's something now that I wish I'd have had then, which is there's an app you can get on your phone. It's called Balance, and it allows you to record your symptoms and your mood and everything that's going on. It's a simple tool that you can daily monitor what's going on in your life. And then it will produce a report for you that you can show to your GP. So, you know, if you've got a sympathetic GP and a good relationship, that's great. Always the first place you can start. That's fabulous. A lot of people don't. You know, I didn't. I've moved to a new area. I didn't know the GP and I didn't know about menopause.
Yeah.
So I just took what they said. You're depressed, take antidepressants. But, you know, this app is a fabulous thing. Or even if you're just journaling or keeping your own diary, if you've got something solid to go to your GP, because, you know, they can't diagnose it, they can't do a blood test, your hormones are doing this all day. And if they take the blood test, it has to be down here for it to even have any inkling of being menopause. The chances of that happen are tiny. So, you know, you're not going to get a diagnosis that way. If you've got something solid, you can take to your GP and say, look, this is where I'm at. This is how my life has been for the last 3 months, the last 6 months. This is how I feel. This is how my body's reacting. I think this could be the menopause. Then you're not just going in and saying, oh, I feel a bit weepy. Do you think I'm menopausal? Because, you know, GPs aren't specialists in that area. They're not going to go, oh, yeah, it could be, you know, they're going to put it down to something else first. So, you know, yeah, beyond you're going to go.
Yeah, because they only get a few moments, don't they, to kind of diagnose what's going on for you, and they can only go with the information that is presented to them and what is most likely to be the diagnosis based on all of the things that they see. And then, you know, there's a cynic of me that would say a whole load of other stuff, but I'm not going to say that today. So can menopause not be diagnosed accurately then if it's a hormonal test?
No, not most of the time, no. So especially with your estrogen, it goes up and down and up and down. When I say it fluctuates, not like day to day, hour to hour and minute to minute. So that was, I remember when I'd seen, I'm a gynecologist and then the menopause specialist, they said, absolutely pointless a GP offering to do a blood test for you, because unless you just happen to be at that low point where your hormones drop so low that they can go, oh, actually, that's quite low, it could be menopause, then no, it's not going to come back and show anything. So, you know, I went in all guns blazing with, no, I think this could be menopause. You should check my blood. And it came back as, no, you're fine and you're clearly too young. I was like, oh. And then I spoke to, you know, specialists who said it's ridiculous. No, you have to go off what the lady is telling you and the symptoms and, you know, what's there. But like you say, GPs they're not a specialist in that area, and they have a couple of minutes to say.
I mean, I when I was going through my diagnosis for my like other health stuff, I spent a year being sent around the hospital having different tests, and it was, you know, very fun. I say that sarcastically. And one of the things I had was like a scan on my ovaries, because I questioned, like, am I going through the menopause? Because pains and fatigue and brain fog and muscles not working and wasting and like all of the fun things that you can think of were happening with my body. And one of the things that they said to me is, oh, look, your ovaries are so healthy, like that you can't possibly, like, cannot possibly be menopausal. So of all of the stuff that I was going through, I had healthy ovaries. I never considered questioning that, because it was said with such conviction that I've joked about it, like the only part of me is my ovaries, I don't need to use them.
Well, I had a hysterectomy at age 34 and I begged them to do that and they didn't want to do it, and I'd had every type of scan and test and told there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. When I finally had it done, and they were hoping to do a keyhole, they couldn't, they had to do full surgical. And when I came round, they said, oh, just so you know, you had a womb the size of a large fist full of fibroids. And I said, but for 10 years, I've asked you to check this out. You've scanned me, you've done everything and told me I'm fine. And now you've just told me that, this was the right thing to do, because I was in a bad way inside. So, you know, I, like you said, there is definitely a place for medicine. My husband is, you know, a medical professional, and we have great conversations because he will come at it medically and go, but this. And I go, 100%. But as a person, as a human who you only know you, and you know you better than anyone else, put the two together. Don't just be led by what someone else is telling you.
Yeah, I think that's the thing though, isn't it? Like and it seems to be the theme, it is that, yes, listen to the medical stuff, but if you're, I mean, there's a difference, because you know, some people have like medical anxiety and it can be something that they get very, very kind of enmeshed in, but it's sort of really knowing that you do need to listen to yourself. So even if you are going through like this anxiety stuff, it's like, try and strip it back, try and use all your tools and manage anxiety, because even that could be caused by vitamin deficiency or stuff that's going on. So it's really like listen to yourself, but I think it's finding ways to manage how you're going through that as well in a way that is healthy, because it can, I don't know about you, I know when I was through my journey, there can be points where it becomes almost obsessive of trying to find the thing that's going to be the thing that makes it all okay.
Definitely. And you do look to people to give you that thing as well, rather than the last place you look is yourself. You're constantly going, that didn't work, so who can give me another suggestion, and who's going to tell me how to fix it now? I'll try this, I'll try that. You bounce from professional to professional and idea to idea, rather than that place where you should start, which is you. It always seems, it's the last stop, is to stop and listen to yourself.
So do you use meditation? Because I think meditation's been one of the kind of greatest tools for me to be able to kind of quiet the stuff and actually really kind of be with what's going on for me.
I think I can be one of those people who can say, hands on heart, meditation is amazing, because if you just said this to me 12 months ago, I was one of those people who would say, do you know what, if it works for you, that's great. It doesn't work for me, because I didn't understand how to meditate. I just thought, I just lie here for a minute and try and stop thinking about things. And I am that person, or was, if I lie down in a quiet room and try and relax, every thought and its mate will be in my head, bouncing around, and I become even more anxious and worked up. So I just go, well, no, that's ridiculous. But, when you you join the right groups, you start hanging around with the right people, you learn about yourself, and you learn the techniques and what you actually need to do to meditate. Oh my goodness, what a difference, because anxiety was a big one for me, and I can literally change my state so quickly now. And it's been one of the most amazing things to learn how to do things correctly. And someone can't just say to you, you should meditate. But when you can do that, and you've got that skill, and you've learned and you understand, it's massive. It makes a massive difference.
So I'm somebody with a very busy brain, and when I tried meditating before, years ago, it was, again, that's but there's stuff in my head, I'm listening to the thing, or there's this going on, or there's that going on. And again, it's that feeling oh, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't meditate. And when you think that, of course you can't meditate, because you can't. It is, like you say, it's shifting the thinking, isn't it? And realizing that all of that's okay. Once you realize all of that's okay, it makes it slightly different. And I love meditation as a tool now.
Definitely. And like I say, I think there's a lot of things, and it came about for me, like I say, when I got to the extreme, when you get to the point where nothing else has worked and you're willing to try anything, that you suddenly start to open up to things and accept them, and think, well, I'll give anything a go, and listening to yourself. And I just really hope that anyone that does watch this can take from that you're not stuck. There is a way forward. It doesn't have to be medically or HRT or diet or exercise. That there's so much you can do for yourself from within that will massively change this journey that you're on. And it is a journey. It's not a final destination. Your life hasn't suddenly just changed because you've become a different person and things are happening to you that are different. It is a journey, and there is so much you can do for yourself to make it as easy a journey as possible, and make it as happy a journey as possible.
And I love that. And that feels, it feels like we're probably at the end, and that feels like a very good place to kind of leave things. I don't know, have you shared everything that you wanted to share about your journey? Because we can go on if we want to. We can do what we like.
No, don't start me. Don't start me. Oh, my poor husband. I just rant. And this is why, the Happy Ladies lifestyle came about. This is why my focus and my coaching changed direction, because I am so passionate about this. So passionate that women can go through this change in their life, and it does affect you. It can affect your business, your career, your family, your life. It affects every part of you. And that's where the Happy Ladies lifestyle came from, because I thought, no, it doesn't have to be that way. And it like I say, groups like mine, groups like yours, the support for anyone who's going through this journey, that it is a journey, and there are other people on it with you, and there is things that you can do to make it as easy as possible.
And I think that's it. Your group will be in the show notes, because anyway, and when you're on Facebook and stuff, it'll be tagged, so people will be able to find you, and women that this is resonating for will be able to come in and connect with you and get involved with the things that you're offering, because it is so important to know when you're on these journeys that you aren't on your own, that there are other people kind of go on the path, going through either what you're going through now or a breath ahead of you, and really being able to have that community and support, I think massively does make a difference. Because I think, like, when you're going through like chronic health conditions or menopausal changes, one of the biggest things can be feeling isolated and feeling like you're the only person with this experience. And yes, there's communities where you can go and complain about everything, and sometimes it's great to be able to rant and offload, but I think, like, my community, your community are very much spaces as well. Yes, come in and say what you need to say, but we're also looking at, how do we shift this? How do we make this into as I don't want to say positive, because that's not what it is. Make this an experience that we claim our power in and can empower ourselves with how we journey through this. Because it's not about the toxic positivity. It's not about, oh, everything's great all of the time, like flowers and hearts things, or at least that's not the vibe I get from your space. It is about, this is real, this is what happens, but this is how we can make things a little bit easier, better, more what we want out of life.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. It's about making more of your days good days, no matter what it is that you're going through at the moment. That, we've all got something within us that it's cheap, it's free, it's easily accessible, it's there at our fingertips, it's within us, and that's what we're sharing through our groups. And it doesn't matter where you are, that we can move you forward. You're not stuck and you're not alone.
Yeah, because there's power in that. There's power in that community, and there's power in that I want to say realization that actually you've got it in you. You just might have forgotten where it is, and you might need a little bit of support to get there, but it's okay, it's there. So I'm gonna bring it to a close. Is there anything you want to leave people with today?
I think we've pretty much covered everything, other than to say, do you know what, if you're on this journey, you've got this. It is a journey, it's not a final destination. And just reach out to the groups, the likes of Sarah and the likes of mine, and there's always support there for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming and speaking with me and sharing with me today. And for those of you who've listened, Gayle's information will be in the show notes, so you will be able to go and find her group and connect in with her. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for those that have listened. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.